One of my students tells me he only needs a grade D, D as David. And I said, why? When my students are getting A plus, why would you settle at grade D? And he was so dejected that I could not. It's one of my past a few years that this thing is. By the way, I'm Professor Rafiq Khadimally. I'm also an oil and gas consultant, but I teach at this Jesse H. Jones School of Business. I teach operations management, project management. Previously, I taught supply chain management, and I love business, government, and society. Okay. Anyway, so that is what the student tells me. Now, my curriculums are very consistent for the entire semester. I have got assignments, I have got a midterm, and then I have got a final. And then I find out the average for which is the final average. So everybody has got to be, all the students have got to be very regular, okay? Now, in the first assignment, he gets a D, and I noticed that. And in the other assignment also, he got a D. Now, the point is, then I said, and I confronted him, and I said, have you ever got any better grade in your academic career? And he said, no. I said, have you ever taken a grade A? Have you ever tasted the flavor of grade A? He said, no. He said he has always been a backbencher. He would sometimes not come into the class, will wait outside until it is 10, 20 minutes past. Then he comes to the class. I said, although I allow students come late and I take the attendance at the tail end of the class, but I have seen you come in my class very early. He said, yes, I like your teaching style. And I said, but I'm very sad that I have a belief no student left behind and you give me a D and I cannot tolerate that. So I asked that student, I said, would you like that I would mentor you a little bit? Okay, in the assignments, I have created what is called a sample format, which actually gives the guidelines how to get a higher grades in my class. So the assignments have been coupled, in such a way that it is individual assignment, but I let them promote. I promote that they do it in groups of 2 or 3, which means if 3 students are doing it A, B, C, then I should have 3 totally independent, different, separated assignments. Okay. And why do I do that? So that is quality number 1 that I create in them, which is networking, because they are talking amongst each other. And then I have a lot of internet put into it. I want the keywords, they go and locate the internet. So I want them to be absolutely conversant on internet, because the Fortune 500 companies in downtown Houston, they need the entry-level students to be very highly computer conversant, okay? And then I also want them to be, using the internet in addition to describe it in their own words, which is the analytical skill. So in addition to that, they have done some research. They will locate the answer in the book, but if they copy and paste, they get a 0. I am telling you, I have a way to find out how it is. So my students would describe it in their own word, 1/3 of a page and all that. So there are 3 portions of the assignment. Number 1 is the text, which they describe it in their own words. Number 2 is what the research they do from the internet, and they must copy the URL link down below as a courtesy, because in Texas Southern University, we are very particular about the intellectual property and also the copyright information. So my students, day 1, are very particular on that. And then the third thing is, based on the question, they will locate some pictorial from the internet. It could be a graph or a chart or a data or a process diagram or whichever suited. And when the students are doing it together, I notice in them that they are not using the search engine for the first page. I myself, when I use the search engine, Google or Yahoo or Bins, 95% time I get the information from the first page of the search engine. My students will go to page 2 and page 3 because some of those internet websites that even I'm not even aware of, and I give them compliment by saying, it is my duty to be imparting the knowledge to you as an academic excellence, but you make my day when you give the reverse knowledge back to me as a professor. That's why they get a very high grades in my class. So these are the three things that I told them. And that student in assignment number 3, I have got after assignment 3, I have got midterm. Then assignment 4, 5, and 6, I have got the final exam. Assignment 3, he gets an A. And he came running to me and he says, Professor, I did it exactly the way you told me. And I said, you have the format in front of you. And he said, how could, now? His face was blushed and he says, how could I get an A plus? I said, okay, let's do it together. I said, here, look, you did not copy the URL. I told you, anything you pick up from the, we are tigers. We are particular about the intellectual property and the copyright. Something which is on the internet for our use has got to be picked up with the courtesy. As a matter of fact, copyright items, you should never use it. So they all are aware of it. And I said, you forgot to copy the URL link there down below. Okay. And a few things more I told him. In the midterm, he got an A plus. But when I took the midterm average, which was assignment 1, 2, assignment 3, and midterm, he barely made an A. Yeah, I had to go back and because it was some points were left, in the decimal that I had to round it up. So I went back into one of his assignments, re-reviewed it, and bumped a few, points there so that he could get an A. Okay. After that, from assignment 4, assignment 5, assignment 6, and final exam, he had A pluses there. Then he would come and tell me, he says, Professor, it is just as if I got a hangover. I am used to now getting an A plus. I said, son, you are going to be enjoying your career. You are going to be remembering me as your professor. And I said that the relationship between a professor and the student begins only. It never finishes. Wherever my students are, I'm teaching for 5 years now. They are applying for PhD programs in United Arab Emirates or in France or in UK. They keep on writing to me. I will send them their recommendation letter. I've got every information with me, their grades, their attendance, etc. One more thing, I reward my students if they have a full attendance and they got an A plus from me, then I give them an appreciation letter. Okay. The purpose of this today's chat was that how I transformed a D student, a D grade student who had never had the fun and enjoyment of getting an A in his entire life, that how he transformed himself. That is what I wanted to tell my students all over and the students all over the world. So remember these 3 things that I mentioned to you. You have comments. By the way, I will hold question and answer session also. When I make my project management, project consulting vlogs, then I have got questions coming from China, Indonesia. So I have to split them into 2, which is for the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere for answering those Q&A session. And hopefully my students will. So remember one thing, that you students have got to be exploring yourself. If you have not been getting the grades that you have, is because you have not explored yourself. Sometimes you need my kind of a professor my kind of a professor to let you to explore what you are. Wish you all the best. Until next time. Bye for now.